Hi everybody, today I thought I would go over how to barbell squat if you are a complete beginner to the gym, a complete beginner to the barbell. When you first start out, the barbell can be intimidating. Today we're gonna demystify the barbell and de-intimidate it. It's not intimidating. Okay, so typically in the gym, your barbell will be 45 pounds. The barbell I have here is 35 pounds because it was cheaper on Amazon. The 35-pound bar is called a woman's bar. As for why, well, sexism. But if you are squatting for the very first time, a woman's bar might actually be better just because it is lighter. It is 10 pounds lighter than the 45-pound bar. A lot of people prior to barbell squatting are accustomed to squatting on the Smith machine, and that is a great introduction into having a bar on your back. However, for those of us who are able to get under a barbell is going to be far superior because it allows you to use stabilizer muscles along with the leg muscles that you would use on the Smith machine, and therefore making it a more well-rounded, fulfilling exercise, more bang for your buck. The first thing I do is I make sure that the bar height is correct. Whatever bar height that you choose, you just want to make sure that when you get under it and you stand up, the bar is going to clear these things. You don't want to have these little hooks too high up to the point where you kind of have to tiptoe to get the bar off the rack, because that does throw you off a little bit, especially when the weights get heavier. You want to make sure there is a little bit of room for a lift off. Leave yourself some clearance, yeah? Depending on what kind of rack it is, usually the hooks just come off like this, and then, you know, there's a little notch and you can insert it into the holes. You can adjust the height, change the height. If I wanted it down here, I could do that. If you're working with a rack for the first time, there is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but once you figure it out, it's going to be easy. So that is the racking height. Second, we want to make sure our safeties on the bottom are at the appropriate height to catch us in case we do fail a squat. So this bar in the center, it has a center knurling. The rough part of the bar is called the knurling. The reason you want to squat with a bar with a center knurling is because it actually grips your body better. If you're wearing a t-shirt, it will grip your clothes. And if you are not wearing a t-shirt and you're wearing a sports bra, it'll dig into your skin and grip your skin. I guess it's good. It basically helps the bar stay on your back. So we like the center knurling, we like it, but it's not the end of the world if your bar doesn't have one. So based on the notches and markings on the bar, you can tell what the center of the bar is. So because this one has a center knurling, this short little section here, I know this is the center of the bar. Typically, I will put my index finger right where this outside knurling starts, and then line up my other hand, and then this is my hand position, and I'm not gonna move it. I'm not gonna move it, this is set. So once I grip my hands, I'm not moving them, I go under, this is where I'm squatting, okay? So depending on your shoulder mobility and how wide your upper body is, you might find it more comfortable to grip it a little bit wider. But don't grip it too wide to the point where your upper body is just like kind of spread out like this. You want it to be narrow enough so that you can still pinch your shoulder blades back and keep a nice tight upper body. Ideally, it would be pretty damn close. You see how my shoulder blades are just like really pinched together and squeezed. Out of everybody that I've worked with and taught how to squat, grip ranges from here all the way to these outer rings. I've never had anybody who had to grip way out here. So outer rings is probably gonna be maximum. Yeah, that's pretty wide. And my upper body is very loose, and you can see that my shoulder blades aren't pinched, and I'm just, you know, kind of a little bit wobbly. One thing I will say is that the tighter your upper body is, the better your squat is gonna go. So once you have the grip down and you decide what is comfortable, what works for you, you're gonna wanna get under. You're gonna put the barbell on top of your traps like this. Do not put it on your neck like this, it's gonna be very uncomfortable. Put it on the muscle, right there. Yeah, it's gonna feel strange if you're doing it for the first time, not very comfortable, but it shouldn't feel like you're loading anything onto your neck. That would be bad, don't do that. Okay, find find that meat, okay? Even if you are super skinny, like I started, there was always some trap musculature there. Simply just line both feet up under the barbell, under where you are, and stand up, okay? And then take your time. If all you can do is just this a couple times just to get used to having a weight on your back in this position, do that, do what you gotta do. All right, so once you're comfortable here, you don't wanna waste too many movements. You wanna walk back in 4 steps. Big, big, small, small. What's up, guys? Okay, so it's an entirely different day. I just finished working out, so I'm a little sweaty and my makeup is a little messy, so don't mind me. But I had to refilm this part of the video because the framing was off. But anyway, your pelvic anatomy actually determines what your best foot positioning is. So depending on how your anatomy is in this region, you might like squatting like this. You might like squatting like this. You might like squatting like that. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this video, so I'm going to link a Squat University video down in the description box where they will tell you basically if you should squat like this or that. Go find out. Foot positioning is actually quite a big deal, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. And if you squat in the wrong position for an extended period of time, first of all, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable, and you could probably injure yourself. And also your form's probably not going to be the best. So go find out. And I do want to say, before you get into barbell squatting, make sure you can do 15 bodyweight squats in a row without completely dying, and also make sure you have the experience of doing some form of goblet squats, so any form of weighted squats, because if you go straight to the barbell without having those boxes checked, it's actually going to be quite a big jump that might be uncomfortable. And also make sure that your form is at least pretty good with the bodyweight squats and the goblet squats. Make sure you can get to parallel without your heels coming up. That is. If your heels do come up, that is going to be a mobility issue. Once again, a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but I would look into your ankle mobility specifically. Limited ankle mobility is the case for most people who can't get into a parallel squat, that is. But assuming you can get into a parallel squat, let's proceed. All right, so what you want to do after you've walked out is, before you go down into your squat, make sure your foot pressure is even between the balls and the heels of your feet. Some people, including me, will tend to shift their body weight onto their balls of their feet. Mainly because I feel like it's a compensation for balancing the barbell. It's a weird feeling, especially if you've never had anything on your back before. But just make sure before you actually go down into your squat, you kind of like shift back and forth and make sure you're even. Some people talk about having a foot tripod, and that helps make sure that your body weight is evenly distributed across 3 different points of your feet. Okay, so once I'm balanced, I'm going to take a bracing breath in and then go for it. Okay, if this is your first time doing squats, make sure you just take your time and go slow. Make sure you hit parallel and come right back up. One thing that I cue my clients is to kind of imagine a rubber band. So the squats are actually supposed to look a little bit bouncy. Back then, when I really hated squatting, I didn't really think of squatting as a rubber band. What our muscle fibers do when we go down is they stretch and then they come back when we come up. The muscles that are active during this movement, at least, that's what they do. So you want to imagine it as a rubber band and kind of just use that elastic energy to just come right back up. Now, as for bracing, the purpose of that is to fill your abdominal cavity and create some pressure there in order to support your spine in this movement. Unless you have some extenuating health conditions, it is safe to brace. Check with your doctor first, of course. For example, it's not recommended for people with high blood pressure just because it is a lot of so you just want to be careful. Bracing's not that intense unless you're wearing a belt, but definitely just be safe. That's the number 1 rule with all of this, isn't it? So there's a very big difference between breathing into your chest and breathing into your stomach. If you've ever taken singing lessons, you would know this because they make a big deal of this. I took singing lessons. I was very bad. My teacher had to tell me the same thing over and over again every single week. Man, good times though. So just make sure that you know the difference between breathing into your lungs and breathing into your stomach. So when we breathe normally, especially through our nose, there tends to be a rise and fall of the chest. Sometimes when we breathe, there's a rise and fall of the stomach. What we want to do when we brace is make sure that it's all going into the stomach. Otherwise, you're not filling in this cavity. So that's pretty much all I wanted to go over in this video. Over time, as you fine-tune your squatting technique, you will find that there are so many little nuances that you can take into consideration. But this is pretty much all you need. Everything I discussed in this video is pretty much all you need in order to get under a barbell and start squatting at your gym. So, good luck, friends. So, overview, this is what it should be. Place your hands on the barbell. Get under. Put that bar on the trap musculature. Get up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Make sure your foot pressure is good. Make sure it's nice and even. And then brace. Rubber band. Rubber band. Okay? And then just walk back. And gently put that barbell back where it belongs. And that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I covered everything. The squat is insanely nuanced. I would have never guessed when I first started. But I've learned so much in the past 2 years from my powerlifting coach and just, you know, trial and error and doing it. I first touched a barbell in 2016 and it was really heavy back then. Like, I could only squat the bar for like a year. I was just too afraid to put on any weights. So I just hope you guys don't feel rushed to get to a certain point. Like, things take a different amount of time for everybody. And I personally, I've taken so long to learn, and I've had to build up and tear down and start all over and just throw my whole entire belief system out the window. This has been a journey. This has been a journey, but literally 8 years after I first learned how to squat, I finally love squatting. It's just a trial and error. So don't feel rushed to just try to know everything and be perfect immediately. Just know that, you know, there is joy in the journey. You do want to strive for the prettiest squat that you can achieve, but you know, that takes time. That takes time. And finding out what your muscular imbalances are and fixing the results of those imbalances, that takes time. That takes time. The whole purpose of me putting myself out there on social media to do this thing on the internet is to show women that the barbell is not intimidating. You know, I've trained so many women in person and they always come to me and they're like, I've never tried that before. It's scary, it's intimidating. The vast majority of my new clients say that. And it breaks my heart. But then also I'm happy to be the one to instill confidence in them, and I show them how to do it, and then they're like, wait, this isn't that bad. This isn't as hard as I thought it was, you know? So I hope that I was able to convince at least one girly out there to try out the barbell. And I hope this video kind of demystified this specific lift for you. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask them down in the comment section below. I will try my best to answer. And I think that is pretty much it. Yay! Good job if you learned something today. Thank you for watching. Bye.